Okay. I need to check my audio levels. If everything is good with the audio, if it's not sounding like overly compressed and whatnot. So I'm just going to chat here and see. I need to check my audio levels. That's sounding good, right? I don't know, if you guys are in here, let me know. If the audio is okay, then I can proceed here. Because I did change my input gain into my audio interface. I figured that it could be turned up a little bit when I was recording. But there's, of course, the mic processing that has always been on the stream mic. Because when I record, I do the processing afterwards, not in like real time. Hello, it's all okay. Perfect, nice. Yeah, so I did compensate for it, like I turned down the input gain into the chain that I have for my microphone here in OBS. But I didn't know, of course, if I did that well or not. And generally speaking, I've been having some audio issues, like it's not as, the configuration that I have now is not as stable as I would have wanted it to be. And a little bit less latency would also be nice, but that is something to figure out later. Once I have also stuff like the SonarWorks, which I want to put in this room and whatnot. Then I'll need to find a better solution maybe for the routing that I'm doing. Because I think the issue with latency comes partially because of the voice meter, and I believe it can have to do with the Pioneer thing that I set up here. This is of course for the mixes, so I would need to remove that every time, like so. Yeah, there for you guys audio would have dropped for a little second there. Anyway, with people in here now, let's start the feedback stream. We already have 2 submissions, Synthetics and Smilk here. In the light, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. People are coming in, so I'm going to start with the first one here. This is going to be feedback enhanced, so I assume that we've already listened to this. Let me see, did we listen to this last week or the week before? I'm just trying to see if I find another. Yeah, I'm thinking last week we listened to this and now he implemented all of the feedback. So let's have a listen there. This is Synthetics with feedback enhanced. Oh, Synthetics is here. DMTY official. DMT? Is that how you say it? I don't know. Alex Willis, how are you doing? And Dante, welcome as well. My tracks wouldn't fit the stream as it's more metalcore orient. That sounds really, really interesting. I want to hear it so bad. Please submit something, because that sounds really cool. I feel like a lot of this high frequency stuff in the pads can be removed to make space for those vocals.
You are here to discover the deepest truth about yourself.
Because here the vocals is a lot clearer. It also has that impact to deal with there. And these last vocals have some issues coming through. Kick and bass is nice and clean. I do think the first note could be a little bit lower in volume. Although I do like the groove, so maybe you can keep it. It's not like a problem. Like, I don't know how much this is actually a problem, like in a club system or something like that. Even though I went clubbing yesterday, I didn't really bother to think about those kind of things, of course. But the sub bass suddenly becoming louder halfway through the kick drum may sound a little bit strange. I don't know. It's pronounced DMT. Okay. That makes more sense in my community, yeah. I like it so far. I do feel like you've used the same fill twice there. Maybe that having something a little bit different, like a synth fill or something like that, or even something layered on top would be a bit nicer. I don't know if it was exactly the same, but it feels like the idea was the same as the last one. Metalcore is a genre of techno, not trance, but I love psytrance, forest, dark rock. I mean, that's okay. I don't put like limitations on the feedback stream that it has to be psytrance or anything. Hello, Bo. Little bit more grit, little bit more distortion for this melody through the build-up can be nice, so that it doesn't get drowned out by the rest of the elements that become louder and louder. I like this. I do feel like this idea is dragging on a little bit too long. Maybe the last 16 bars of that could be a different synth. Like just a single gritty FM synth or something like that.
Committing your life to being against something is a recipe for suffering.
This is where you start to understand the vocals. So this is the place where I would start to play it, the moment that it actually has the space to be intelligible. Here again, the vocal doesn't really come out of the mix. It doesn't have any space in the mix, so we cannot understand what is being said here. Hardwick, how are you doing? Welcome. It feels like it's been a little while, no? Since I've seen your name in chat.
It's alright not to know the answers. They will come to you when you least expect it. You are here to discover the deepest truth about yourself. Release yourself to the unknown.
Overall, I would have hoped a different element over here. Honestly, I think the time idea goes on for a little bit too long. I think also there you can reduce that to just 16 bars and then have something a little bit different in the third drop than we have in the first drop. Because I believe this melody is also in the first drop, or it's at least in the breakdown, that last breakdown, I think. Correct me if I'm mistaken on that. Honestly, I would probably cut this part out of the track. I feel like the outro should just like nicely fade out after the last part. Maybe you can do some more cool stuff there if you really want a longer outro or something like that, but having another segment of kick and bass that slowly fades out, it's probably not the way that I would do it. It is in the breakdown, yes. Okay. Is it not in the... No, okay. Ah, it's in both breakdowns. Aha. Then there... I would choose one of the two breakdowns and take that melody out of the breakdown. One of the two. I would probably, personally, if I had to do it myself, I would probably go for the second one and try to do something a little bit more special there, instead of just relying on the melody itself. You of course have the vocal that you can build something around. Yeah, what I would probably go with like low pads and that kind of stuff for the place for the vocal on it, and then take the last part of the vocal and turn that into a build-up, or something like that, something fairly simple. But what I noticed both in the intro as well as in the breakdown is that the vocal just does not get enough like real space to sit in, and that makes it really hard to understand the vocal and follow the story. So that is the biggest thing I would say in this track. But other than those, and I say biggest thing, but that is a fairly small thing to fix, right? You just low pass filter some of the elements and then you're done, and maybe turn the volume down a little bit, and then that should be, it should be like half an hour of adjustment to just fix that. It's not like a big rearrangement is needed of this track or something like that. So overall, I really like that. Sounds very good. And next up, we have Misk with 478. I can play this one in here. By Discord user Smilk.
Raise your vibration and access your subconscious.
Volkstar, welcome.
With the 4-7-8 breathing technique.
Vocals could be a little bit louder in this one, again,
Through your nose.
to make them stand out a little bit more, to make them understandable out of the track, kind of.
Then exhale slowly.
Also because here they're distorted.
For a count of 4. And hold your breath for a count of 7. And exhale through your mouth for a count of 8.
On those places where you have crashes and stuff like that, it is generally harder to get the vocal to fit in there, because there's other material that it's competing with, right? Nice clean kick and bass, I like that. A little bit loud on the plugs, I think. I can turn this track up, by the way. Not really a fan of the alternating beats hat here. I would probably have a rhythm that helps with the groove of the bass, so like a galloping rhythm with my hats here. Here again, the main melody is a little bit on the loud side. It could also use a little bit of stereo with that one. That feels very mono. I know that the other one is like a stereo layer to it. Nice little stutter things there. I would probably turn off or stop playing the melody here then, so that we can just focus on the atmospheres and the little stutters that you're doing and the little extra arps that you have in here. Then the melody is also going to get more impact when it comes back playing from here, as opposed to having played throughout almost the whole track at this point. I do like the chord changes over the static bass. That does sound really cool. There's one track that I'm doing something fairly similar. This one is a little bit more complex and it involves more elements. It's a very cool idea. Good morning, Philippe. For me it's afternoon, but I'll just say good morning. I really like what you're doing here with all of the different melodies. I do think here there's a little bit too much going on, so those rising up arps that sit throughout the good part of the sections before it can be removed here.
Raise your vibration. And access your subconscious with the 407
Joy de Sousa and 9, welcome to the stream.
quiet place and close your eyes. Take a deep breath through your nose, filling your belly and your chest. And then exhale.
I like the stereo field of this part of the track.
Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. And hold your breath for a count of 6.
Again, I think the vocals could use a little bit more space, especially because they're distorted and kind of low in terms of their frequency content. They're mainly in the mid-range.
Align with the abundance of the universe.
A little bit of extra energy over here could help have them stand out.
My vibration is high, and I am worthy of all my desires. This breathing technique puts you in the theta brainwave state, the door to your subconscious. Once open, you can tell it anything and make it manifest in your life. Subconscious. 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 Subconscious.
I feel like the self and self-conscious is a little bit out of sync with the rhythm. I think you have the self starting from the kick drum, whereas the should probably like slide into the kick drum so that the lands on the kick. Self-conscious. conscious, right? Because the air, that is the loudest part of the vocal, of that little loop there. Hello Lana. Hello Glyph. Welcome everybody. I might seem a little bit lower energy, but on the Discord I did show that I went clubbing yesterday, so hopefully it's understandable. Very cool track. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I like all of the little melodies that you're doing and how they're all different but similarly themed. That is really well done. I did feel like the track was a little bit busy in some parts, and some of the elements get more impact if you use them a little bit less. That is also the case maybe for some one-shots and whatnot. If you play them over and over again for a very, very long time, they tend to become fairly boring, unless they're really those elements that are part of like the actual groove of the track almost. Like maybe they layer up with the kick and bass really nicely, or with the drums in a way. That is the other thing that I wanted to say with those hats and that kind of stuff. Try to strive towards a cohesive groove for the whole track, and not just have, oh, kick and bass does this thing, I'll have hats do random other thing. It tends to be the case that the hats and really all the percussions and even the grid synths and some of the synths that are part of the groove of the track, that they're all collaborating to one kind of cohesive idea in terms of the thing that you dance to. And I felt like with this track that wasn't necessarily the case throughout the track. So that is probably the biggest room of improvement. But in terms of the musical ideas, I really like where this track went. Anyway, next up we have Dante, also known as Tekarsis. Okay. Metalcore is a subgenre of techno where you can also find acidcore. Maybe you already know Subway Shamans, a group founded by Epidemy and Mr. Gas Mask, who does acid stuff. Okay. So yeah, this is a little bit of a different genre. And let's see what this is. This is mastered, this is very loud, so I'll have to turn my own audio back down again because I don't want to get my ears fried off. I did that yesterday. From everything I know, it feels like that acid line is out of sync with the parts that we had in the intro. But that might be revealed why later. There was like a little slide and impact thing, and it felt like it was out of sync with that. I'm assuming it would all be in sync, so let's see how it... Yeah, no, this sounds good. Like the groove and the melody, how it lays on top of the kick, so I don't know. Maybe that before was like because of the delay or whatnot. Overall, I'm definitely a fan of what you're doing here. This is still my kind of music, I would say. Not really a fan of the very quiet kicks every once in a while that you're doing. Sounds like you're sidechaining the kick against itself, I don't know. Might be because of the delay on the asset. Yeah, exactly. That I was hearing a delay tail, and of course that wouldn't be in the sync, like musically resolving, I guess, at the moment of the impact that was happening in the intro. Here it does make sense how you're playing kicks with different volumes. You are bleeding into your transients, I see over here. That is something to note. When you do these kind of kicks, you want to resample the kicks and then avoid any filters after the resampling process. Because at the resampling process, I'm assuming that you fade out hard, right? Say, at this last oscillation, just making sure that it fades out. And then you would go to 0 right before the transient. But obviously, because you introduce some fade filter over it afterwards, you can now see that it's starting to bleed into the transient. And that is pushing your transient up, which is going to hit your master limiter harder. Meaning that this track would get less loud and less punch in the transients as a result. Which means that after the resampling process on your kick slash bass, I don't know if this is like a kick with a layered bass that is perfectly phase aligned or whatnot, or if this is just one kick. Whatever it is, after you resample that and you make your kick pattern out of that, make sure that you don't use any filters after it. Yeah, the bleeding in this case is fairly important because I'm assuming that you want this to be mastered like loud, right? Like -6 LUFS. I'm assuming what this would go for because this is such distorted music. No layer, just one kick. Yeah, that makes sense. When it comes to this kind of loud music, if you want to maintain the punch in the transient with which is obviously what you kind of would want for dance music, right? Because that kick punch is really important. And you want to master that loud, you really need to preserve all of the space for that transient. So you should really try to get rid of the bleeding. Hello Bruno. Not much is up. I'm just having a little bit of a low energy feedback stream here. I like the acid that you have here. It could be a little bit wider, I would say. Yeah, here the bleeding is okay. Right, the bass stops before the kick transient plays again, so here you get that consistent kick. It could be a little bit more, this particular version of the kick could be a little bit stronger in the high frequencies, I would say. Like an extra bit of tack, bite out of the start of it. Very cool. I like it. I like it. Overall, the sound design is very cohesive. All of the ideas are very cohesive. Of course, this is not the genre that I normally produce, so I'm not an expert on like the musical ideas and the arrangement and that kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of trusting you that you know what you're doing there. Mix-wise, though, I can say that there's a few small details that could take this mix from the 90% where it's now to the full 100%, I would say, because I think the mastering for this kind of stuff, you just have to make it loud, right? A lot of people, what they tend to do is they confuse the mixing with the mastering, and I hear this quite a lot where they say like, oh, the overall tonality, I will change that in the master. I would recommend doing against those kind of things, going against those kind of things, and trying to fully do that in the mix. And one of those things is trying to get the maximum amount of punch out of your very loudly mastered track. That is not something that you're going to be able to do in the master. That is something that has to happen in the mix. And in this case, it has to be the bleeding. That would be, in my opinion, the main issue to get rid of. And then in that case, if you're going to attend to the kick, then it can get a little bit more bite out of the transient in the high frequencies as well. Other than that, it sounds perfectly, or it sounds very good in terms of the balance. It sounds very good in terms of the stereo fields, but there were a few elements where you can be a little bit more, say that acid line that could be a little bit wider. But yeah, I hope that that's good feedback. Overall, this is not the genre that I normally produce, so I cannot maybe go too in depth on the technical aspects on it. LFO for the win. LFO unfortunately doesn't fix the bleeding, because LFO goes down and then the bleeding continues into the transient, and then LFO goes up to let the transient through, and the bleeding still happens. So that doesn't work for the if you want to use that for fixing the bleeding issues. You do have to resample that. It's my suggestion there. That will also give you a consistent kick, by the way, if you don't have that yet. It will, of course, it being in audio, it will just be the same signal every time. Anyway, next up we have Ben di Gedig, which I still don't know if I should be pronouncing the G's the way that I'm doing, but I'll just keep doing that. Either way, his track is Untitled Jungle Thing. Sounds interesting. Jungle is the high, like the type of drum and bass that is very high and very lucid and doesn't have a lot of punch in it, right? Like very short kick samples, very short snare samples. I feel like the sub bass is a little bit loud here. Yeah, here the sub bass sounds better balanced because you have more stuff going on in the like warm frequencies over here, I would say. But in the intro it doesn't feel like it fits. It feels like it overpowers the intro. Acid Phrase, how are you doing? Welcome. Ben di Gedig, of course, also welcome. It is sampled breaks sped up. Yeah. This is the jungle that I know, like those very airy, high frequencies and very short kicks and claps and that kind of stuff. And of course the warm kind of ambience below it. Yeah, I think this sub that is playing over here is just to loud. This is the stable sub. I did like the plugs that you had at some point. I don't like that the piano is panned to the left. I feel like that should be the main element. Also those chords, the super saws, can be a little bit quieter to make the piano the main element. But mainly the panning, I would just keep that in the middle. And then of course make sure still that the melody kind of comes out of the harmony, I guess. Hi-hats are too high, it's not leveled to 6 decibel. I don't know what that means. And I don't think that saying the hats of this is, or the volume of this needs to be 6 decibel or whatever that means, is a solid mixing advice. I feel like in the context of this track, the hats are sitting in there well. I think that the context is much more important than some arbitrary number. I'm a terrorcore acidcore producer. You know which music that is? I do it for over 36 years now. Cool. Overall, nice track. I like it. I like the balance. I think it could use a light upgrade in that the chords can be a little bit quieter. But I don't think that you should listen to Acid here and mix your hats to an arbitrary number. I don't even know where -6 would be on with respect to, or did he say -6 or to 6 decibel? It's not leveled to 6 decibel. I don't even know what that 6 decibel relative to what to start off with. And then in the frequency spectrum, just overall loudness. Like that is to me, just giving advice like that in giving a single number, that doesn't really do much. And if you've been producing for 36 years, you would know that the volumes that you're going to set in the mix are going to be dependent on the context that you're working with. And it's going to be dependent on the context that is the mix. And in this mix, the hats didn't stand out to me as being too loud or too quiet or whatever. Gives me the 2000 PlayStation 1 jungle vibes. PlayStation 1 and 2 is an era that I've just, even though I'm 27, I've completely missed out on. I mean, PlayStation 1, that was, yeah, if you're 27, that was then, like what, when did that came out? That's for mastering or finishing the track for marketing. But what does that have to do with the hi-hats? You said hi-hats are too high, it's not leveled to 6 decibel. It was released in 1997, I think. Ah, okay, yeah. Then I wouldn't, that is the year that I was born, so that makes sense. But even PlayStation, yeah, the PlayStation 2 also makes sense. I got in the PlayStation 3 era. 6 decibel over 9000, yeah. Yeah, I personally don't believe in those kind of... same with those charts that say, oh, EQ this frequency in your vocal. Boost 500 Hz in your vocal by 2 dB. that always works. Those kind of graphs, they don't really teach you mixing or mastering or anything in music production. Same as a tutorial for a certain type of patch that is just giving you the numbers. Set the filter cutoff to 40 Hertz. Set the modulation to 36. Set the level to -4 decibel. Set the this to that, set the that to that. That isn't really like teaching anything because it's void of the context. To the overall volume in total, but it's very good produced. I'm starting to think that you haven't been producing for 36 years, because I'm assuming that you're talking about LUFS here. But even that I don't know. And to be honest, I don't feel like this should be mastered at -6 LUFS. This kind of music. This is sounding friendly to me. This isn't sounding dubstep aggressive to me in terms of the tonality that you're going for. And -6 LUFS, which isn't 6 decibel or whatever. It is technically 6 decibel, but it's -6 decibel LUFS, I think. Right, that is the correct term for it. Then it starts to make sense what you're talking about if you use terms like that. Because just saying like -6, or 6 decibel, that doesn't really make sense. But I feel like this track shouldn't be mastered at -6 LUFS anyway. Like, this isn't the kind of aggressive track that I would normally think of as a something that you master at -6 LUFS. Like, sidetrance is more aggressive, and I master most of my sidetrance at -8. So this would be less aggressive. I could see it being more dynamic, more flowy, right? In terms of the way that you would master this. Anyway, next up we have Confusion Matrix here by Vernal Equinox. I'm assuming that is some of the new people here. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Vernal Equinox with Confusion Matrix.
I am the architect. I created the Matrix. I've been waiting.
The vocals are drawn out too much by the synths, I would say. This is one of those very grindy kick and basses. There's some stereo, low frequency stuff happening. I don't think you want that. Whatever is causing those low frequencies. Because I think it's like some impact that is doing it. I would remove the low frequencies from whatever is interfering with your kick and bass here. Do you hear that there's like a zoom zoom? You can even see it on the analyzer. I mean, the kick and bass isn't resampled, but I think I could tell you that from before I paused it.
Programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduous bit, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond the measure of control.
I think everybody here in the chat can hear exactly which part of the vocals are mixed well and which parts aren't. There was like one moment where the vocal was given enough space that you could actually understand what the vocal was saying for half of the sentence. And then the rest of it was all the vocal being pushed behind the synths. mean, it's a nice start. It's some nice ideas. Weird stereo bass. Yeah, exactly. There was something weird going on with the bass in this track. It is, I wouldn't say too obvious that you're a beginner, even though that is what you say yourself. This doesn't seem like somebody's first few tracks. Like they've definitely done a little bit of this before. Maybe try sidechaining your synth bus from the vocal. Yeah, that can work, but more like it's more important that you address like the frequency clashing, so that the high frequencies of the vocal aren't clashing with all of the synths and stuff like that. And in general, if you want to turn the synths down, what I really don't like is a synth that starts to play, like take a squelch, for example, that starts in its pitch down, and then the vocal comes in and the squelch itself ducks in volume. At that point, what I would do is I would just lower the volume of the whole thing. I usually make hip-hop, but new to sidevents. Yeah, okay. Then I would say there's some technical things that I think this track could do better, like the resampling of the kick and bass and that kind of stuff. That is something that you would just need to learn. I would say my ultimate guide to kick and bass is a very good starting point for that kind of stuff, or the technicalities of the genre. But mostly it's about, I think, listening, because I feel like as a beginner, one of the things that is the hardest to do is kind of finding out where the synths and stuff should be and finding out how the arrangement should work, because this track was now 2 minutes and 30 seconds long and we had 2 drops, and throughout all of the drops the synths were basically the same the whole way through. So if you want to turn this into a, say, 6, 7, 8 minute track, that is going to become really boring if you do it that way. So there's different ways that we keep the track interesting by switching out the synths all the way through. And that is probably not something that you do in hip-hop, because hip-hop, it's just like the backing beat for somebody that is telling a story, right? So it needs to be not intrusive. And therefore, if there's a lot of change happening all of the time, arrangement-wise, and the melodies keeps changing up and the synths keep changing up and that kind of stuff, it kind of takes away from the vocal, I suppose. Yeah, I'm struggling with the arrangement part. Yeah, when it comes to that, what is important and what I always recommend to beginners is that they listen to half an hour to an hour of music every day on their production system, because then it also helps for getting your ear tuned to what the mix is supposed to sound like, and the mastering, of course. But also just focusing on the arrangement. Okay, which synths do they use? Where do they use what kind of elements? Some parts of the track you'll hear, there's going to be like one shots, which is just a sound with a delay tail on it, and then the delay tail tapers off for a little bit, and then the next sounds happen, and then the next sounds happen, that kind of stuff. Whereas other parts of the track, they have like sequences, and which sequences do you put where, which drums do you put where, which is a nice area for the vocals to be in, all of that kind of stuff. You just kind of get a natural feel for if you listen to this kind of music for an hour a day for, say, a year. And then it should just be good, right? So that developing that feeling and developing your ears, tuning your ears. Honestly, tuning your ears, the mixing and mastering part, the tuning of the ears part, is probably going to take longer than a year. I would say probably like 2 or 3. But if you're getting a head start with something like hip hop, you already know the basics of how you should listen for a mix, and how, I assume at least, how mixing is done, right? How EQing is done, that kind of stuff. Those basic ideas, they should also come with hip hop production, I hope. So yeah, there's definitely a few things that you can do to help yourself, and I hope that I could point them out. Okay, how many tracks do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy. Today I am a little bit more tired than usual, so this is going to be a shorter stream. It's been 15 minutes now, so I can do maybe I'll do one more track and then I'll take my break and then I'll do like another hour after that. This is going to be a shorter one. So the next track is going to be Temple Juice by Volksta. Volksta. Oh yeah, definitely Hardwick. You can definitely copy other people's arrangements just purely to learn from it, right? You ever watch hip-hop production like Busy Works Beats? No. No, I don't really care about the hip-hop scene, to be honest. Nice. Impact strikes / Cashmere samples. A little bit of infected mushroom inspiration here. I have to get used to where the snare was on the beat. I felt like I was half a beat off. Why is this kick and bass so quiet? Yeah, the kick and bass is getting overpowered by almost everything here. Honestly, it sounds like you accidentally turned your kick and bass down by 6 dB right before exporting. Where is the kick? Yes. I don't know what happened here, because apart from the kick and bass being too quiet, it sounds like a very, like, I imagine if the kick and bass was 6 dB louder here, and just powerful and strong throughout the track, that this would be a great mix. So it as I said, it almost feels like you actually like made an export mistake. There is a few other things, like this bass stab not being sidechained is probably an issue. I also saw that when you were playing the action strike samples that there were still some low frequencies of them. You probably want to get rid of those. Starting to get a little bit bored of the choir sounds here. I think they're a little bit too static. Even though they change up melody, they don't really change up sound. Look, this violin here on its own is louder than the kick drum. Even though the kick drum should be the most important element in the track. So you just by looking at the waveform, you should be able to spot that something like that is probably not what you want to do in the mix. I do really love these kind of instruments though. It sounds very well programmed, right? Because this is the kind of stuff that you, I think, have to program inside of Contact if you want all of those, how do you call it? Inflections on the sound. It is also resampled, I think. Looks like it's fading out over here and goes right back into it. Into the note, right? Yeah, that's perfectly resampled. So that's very nice to see. It just needs to be louder. It needs to be mixed in better. You can see that even here, the melodic pluck is overpowering the kick and bass. Hopefully V2 will have some kick and bass as well. Yeah, that would be really nice. It is a really cool idea musically. So this definitely deserves a better mix. It is also a bit strange that it's now a lot wider. It's also a lot louder here, of course. Like this is painfully loud almost. But it's also brighter and stereo-wider, so that the whole track gets a different feeling mix-wise here. Like the musical idea is still there, but this feels like a different track than what we were just listening to with the choirs and whatnot. Very cool ideas, just needs a better mix. Oh wait, these are my mixing surfaces. Oh, okay. That's enough promotion. Yeah, if you want me to mix this track and make it really special, then I can do that for you. Just go onto my website, projectorsound.com, and then scroll down until you find mixing surfaces. Either way, that's really the only thing that I have to say here, is that it definitely needs a lot better mix, because the mix is off now, especially that last part. It starts to get so loud that it starts to like actually distort the limiter, plus it starts to completely duck down on the elements that are like the most important elements in this track, right? The kick and bass is the most important part that you want to dance to, and there's just parts where, not even because of just the low volume, because you could still, apart from the jokes, you could still hear it throughout the track when all of the other elements were like low volume and whatnot. But that one final part, you couldn't even hear it because all of the other elements were triggering the limiter so loud that that limiter was ducking the kick and bass by so much that it became inaudible. Yeah, I'm going to take a quick break here. Going to put on my latest set here. Let's see. I like Rift. Rift doesn't get enough love. So I'll play it here during the break. And then once this track is finished roughly, we'll get back into listening to your guys' music. The next one will be Sebastio. And then we have Marcel, Delirium, Chacha, and Sakemaj Kake. Yeah, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more tracks in the queue right now. That's nice. Okay, I'll take a quick break, then I'll be back, and then I'll do another roughly hour or so of feedback, and that will be the stream for today.
Dude, I'm tripping on acid right now. Like, sorry. I'm just like, whoa, the line's moving. I have no idea. Because I'm just like, dude, this is cool as fuck.
What a nice track and visuals, very good, yes. The Subject Ultra track, together with Lunarium, and the visuals by Subject Ultra are indeed very nice. Why is it saying +1? It's not +1, it's +5. Anyway, let's continue here with Overdrive by Sebastio, I guess, because it's 3 O's. Yeah, no, I can play from here. Overdrive.
Stop messing with my heart. You give me.
I hope this isn't some kind of remix or anything like that.
You give me high. I'm an overdrive. You give me high. I'm an overdrive. You give me
Vocals sound nice. Overall, this master could use a little bit more width, I would say. And I think that the vocals would be wide enough if you widen the whole master. Yeah, that sounds nice and powerful. I think you're bleeding into the kick a little bit with your bass, which you can fix with Add a Photo in this case.
Summer. Palm trees, many leaves, see the light when I breathe. I was sowing in the winter, in the summer, check the seeds. Funny how the cooler season help you contemplate your needs. Now it's summer, only needs collard greens. Got a dream, nothing's missing. There's a knees up in my step now. Reminiscing when I couldn't listen, I was stressed out. Now I'm back to winning, grinning, living in my.
No remix splice vocals, perfect. Okay. It always scares me a little bit when I hear vocals like this. Because these were clearly professionally recorded, so...
1, 2, 3,
Yeah, you can hear the transient changing with the notes of the bass, because the bleeding interacts differently with the transient. Maybe you did try to fix the bleeding and then you like high pass your master or something like that at 20 Hz, what a lot of people do. If that is the case, then remove that and fix any issues that you have in 20 Hz, which you don't seem to have in the mix. I read the rules before. Perfect. Perfect. Most people don't, so that's very nice that you did. Overall, great track. I liked it. As I said, the main issue I would say is the stereo width of the track. It overall feels a little bit too narrow. And then you can get a little bit more punch and a little bit more consistency out of the transient of the kick if you fix the bleeding of the bass. But that is, I guess it's a small issue here. Other than that, there's not really much that comes to mind. Sounds just very solid. Again, this isn't really the genre that I produce, so I cannot really go into like very deep technical things that somebody that does produce this genre maybe picks up on and I don't. But from what I can hear, this is sounding nice. This is a like nice hype track, nice vocals in there. The mix overall, apart from the stereo width, feels very balanced. And I think that if you just make this wider, that the mix will still hold up. So that should be a small fix. You should just be able to, in my opinion, you can get away with taking the width and just turning that up in the master. Oh no, it's me next. This will create a bad mood on part 2, I think. Okay. Your title is also a bit ominous, so that might be true. Finding your true self, full drum set edit. That does sound interesting. Let's see. Private Eden, finding your true self.
You'll turn out better.
I like hearing my own vocal pack being used. Arrangement wise, I feel like this should be the part of the track where there should be one-shots and not sequences. This is probably the part where the first sequence should come in. But even here, since the drum is just a snare, I would still focus this mainly on the one-shot area, I guess. Not really a fan of the vocals in the high energy part of the track. That doesn't really make sense. To me, this gritty FM synth can stand out a bit more. It's getting covered by the atmosphere. Of course, kick and bass check should be done here. It does look like it nicely resolves here, so that is nice. Although I do think the kick could be longer. It could have more sub in this area. Instead of leaving that space for the bass line entirely. You should just mix the two together with proper phase alignment and whatnot. And then the kick can be louder with respect to the bass, because now the bass is slightly louder than the kick. It should be the other way around. The kick should be, because that's the main thing that we dance to, right? Don't know why it would be a bad mood. Yeah, honestly, it doesn't sound too bad up until this point. Like, the sound design is super cool here. I like it a lot. What is the slope of the spectrum? I don't know. This is a decay time, so I have no idea. It's not part 2 yet. Aha. The depression still has to come, apparently. I still feel like you're using elements too long. I still feel like there's the same atmospheres in here. I feel like it's the same kind of synths throughout the whole part. I feel like here that same kind of flute that we hear in this part comes through all the time. Really try more sectioning off, especially your main elements, to just 16 bars.
Hallucinations are perceptions that differ from reality. Such that in most circumstances only you can see them.
I like this part. I don't like that for 16 bars there's now an extra, like, or 8 bars there's now like an extra sound on top. You should probably, yeah, do it like this, where in the second section that sound just plays throughout the whole thing, and in the first section it doesn't play whatsoever. This is a fill, and now, yeah, this should be a completely different idea, yes. I think mix-wise, one of the things that can be improved is the punch of the hats here. The hats feel like they have a little bit of a slide in to him almost. Like they're not really aggressive in the attack, and overall they can use a little bit of extra bite, a little bit of extra air in terms of stuff above 10k. They just feel a little bit soft, whereas I feel like if you make them cut through a little bit more, that would be better, mix-wise. Not really a fan of that one synth, that FM synth playing a melody. Generally speaking, with those kind of FM synths, I would just stick to one note. I didn't do that other than a low cut. Why would you low cut something that needs to have high frequencies? Oh no, low cut, yeah, sorry. I'm confusing, because I normally use the pass terms. I was confused. No, that makes sense. Yeah, you would need to be doing EQing to adapt sounds to the mix of your track. Right, that's what EQing is for.
These great hallucinations are the difference between how you see yourself and how others see you. This change is what you need in life, because the world moves on, and if you're stuck in a habit, you will fall behind.
So fun to hear.
Will guide you to new, never before seen worlds.
Like my own the vocals that I commissioned. It's kind of funny to hear that. Yeah, there's definitely stuff to improve here, both arrangement-wise and mix-wise. Just keep listening to more of other people's music, see what they're doing. You're getting to the point where some parts of your track are a little bit too full with elements, and it's not clear what you want us to listen to mix-wise. So try to think in terms of main elements and supportive elements. For stuff like your synths and whatnot, and stuff like the atmospheres. For one, they get stale because you use the same ones over and over again, and you have them quite loud in the mix. So those problems compound a little bit. Other than that, yeah, it's mainly the listening to other people's music to just continuously tune your ears, and then you'll just eventually get there, right? There's not really a strategy to hack the ear training. It's not like you can read some kind of information, wake up the next morning, and then your ears are perfectly trained. That's a process that takes a long amount of time just to happen. Next up, we have Delirium. I hope I said that right. But this is Torrent Spectral Steed. Or is this the collaborator of them? And then this the name of the track. I don't know if this is one title, which has a comma in there, or if this is like a collaborative artist or something like that. Either way, it's released on Cosmic Frequency Records, so it should probably be good. I don't know. But let's have a listen. That frequency being there kind of emulates the kind of frequencies that you would get out of this kick and bass if you were to saturate the kick and bass, and therefore it sounds like there's saturation on the kick and bass, which is kind of the effect that you would get from the master limiter distorting. So I don't think that actually happens. What I would do is probably cut those frequencies a little bit more in the sounds that are also like playing there, so that you kind of, even when there's a sound like an FM sound there, you still kind of maintain the same spectral balance, and it doesn't jump up and give you that effect. If you are a tea fan, the purple chocolate from Just Tea out of Central Africa is to die for. I'm not that much of a tea fan. I just have somebody send me the Dutch Pickwick tea bags because they're the best for making iced tea. Overall, though, mix-wise and production-wise, you were saying that we had to prepare for your song, but I think we had to prepare in a good way, because this was really good. I like that a lot. There's some small details that I hopefully pointed out, but overall, very nice sounding track. Next up, we have Chacha, also known as Gomorrah, with Psych Out. Alright. Definitely a different vibe to start off with. I like the almost looping sound that we got there with that first note that was played. Sounds like you're looping the sample every beat for that first one. I would do that for all of them. For all of those chords, so that you maintain that effect. Not a fan of such a loud riser. This is a very low-end heavy kick and bass. The kick is bleeding into your first bass note. I do like to see that the bass note itself was resampled. I feel like the modulations on whatever synth you're making here are too high. There we have a little moment. Yeah, that is where the synth should be. When it goes like pong, pong, pong. That is where the movement of a sound like that is. Not a fan of the removal of every kick there. What is a good dB for risers? It's not really. There's not really an easy way to express it like that, in that I can not give you just a good volume for them. I turn them down usually by more than 20 dB. So maybe like 25 to 30. It also depends, of course, if I'm layering like 4 risers on top of each other, they will all be turned down more. I feel like the bass could also be quieter here, like by 3-4 dB. I definitely feel like the kick isn't really coming out as much as it should. And you have a strange little reverby thing happening on the kick right here. There's like a strange little too. I don't know if it's as easy to see here. I might be able to pause it later and show you better. I had it at -18 and it was still too loud. Yeah, that will probably happen. You have to take into... It's not. I don't like saying like volumes like that. I would much rather give you a philosophy. And my philosophy is that risers are always there to support the ideas of the track, right? It tells you if an element is, or if a part of the track is increasing or decreasing in energy. Right, you can kind of help the flow of the track with that. So it should never overpower those actual musical ideas, mix-wise. Yeah, do you see this little chick right over there? You probably want to remove that. I don't know what's happening there. It feels like maybe you're layering like a top kick on top of it or something like that, and this is somehow in the sample. It just sounds a little bit off. Vocal like that could use a little bit of extra stereo with. Overall, I think you should listen a little bit more to other people's music to also train your ear to get an idea of what psytrance needs to sound like, because this is slightly off in every way, in terms of the mix, in terms of the arrangement, in terms of the sound design that you're using. It's a cool track, there's some cool ideas in here, but they can definitely be executed better. Like over here, the vocal can definitely occupy a little bit more of that high frequency space.
This is our opinion. Think like us. No, what we're saying is this is our opinion. Judge it for what you will. It's the Christ they have an opinion.
It is definitely loud enough, the vocals.
I am dreamless now.
This, after, I would probably stop this idea after like 8 bars. And then do a little bit more with the ambience. Like for example, automate certain parts of the rhythm. Say that you make a 2-bar loop out of this. By keeping the rhythm like this, you can still turn it into a 2-bar loop by taking automations on say the dry wet of the reverb and the dry wet of the delay, and just up that for individual notes or stuff like that, or glitch it up in interesting ways. And then just repeat that 4 times so that you have an 8-bar idea, and then cut that element out and go into the next elements of the drop. I feel like that would be a better approach here, arrangement wise. Cool stuff. I hear a sound that I believe is also a sample somewhere. Oh, there was one more plug in the file. That last atmosphere sound that is in here that pitches down. That one. Choo. That is from Asterix's Liquid Gold, I think. It might be part of this here. That is why I can see it. Maybe you have this sample pack as well. I believe at least there it's from the Liquid Gold track. At least there is a sound in there that I've heard as well. Right, I'm not crazy here, right? That one. That pitching down, I feel like it may be the same. Let's hear this one again. Let's go for the website version, I guess, here. That's the same sound, right? That's the same sound. Now we know which Vengeance sample Asterix used, or at least you do, Because of course I don't know, but since you say you used the Vengeance sample, you now know which, at least one of the samples that was used to make Liquid Gold by Asterix, which is interesting. It's funny that I hear that I remember that. I guess it's a little bit of a distinct sound because it's I believe for the 2023 Boom Festival, Asterix redid a lot of the kick and basses and all of that stuff for some of his older tracks so that he could play them. And I think in the live set, that sample comes out a lot better. So I think that is why I had such an easy time recalling the sample there. Anyway, we have 2 more tracks. I think then after that, assuming they're both like 7 minutes long, we're pretty close to 2 hours of streaming. So I'm going to close the feedback queue for today, meaning that you cannot submit anymore. Of course, for today, you can already submit, but then it will just be the first track of the next stream, which will be next Sunday. As I've said before, this is a little bit of a shorter stream because I have low energy because I went clubbing yesterday. For those that didn't see my clubbing adventures, I posted it over here in Discord. I met some people through them recognizing me from YouTube, and I got to go behind the DJ booth and meet some new people, and hopefully they will help me with the DJing as well. Because the guy that recognized me was the first DJ of the night, so he DJs there, so that can be an interesting opportunity. Anyway, next one is Sake Mais Kake with, I believe it says Taste Me in that cursed font that you used to add like the cursed stuff on top. It's funny that this is easier to pronounce than your actual username, even though this is deliberately meant to be unlegible and like cursed and whatnot. But yeah, let's have a listen to Taste Me. It's starting off feeling very loud. You'll have to talk a lot more here. That is an interesting way to say that the music isn't as you want it anymore. I mean, it's a good thing that you recognize that yourself. That means that you yourself have also grown since then, right? I mean, overall, up until this point, it's a nice ambience. I am doubting if it's a little bit too loud, but I'll have to drop to hear the drop to be able to hear that. And I'm curious how you're going to transition into a drop from this. Or is this like a Sybient and are we already in the rhythm here with the slower kick drum? Clearly not. This is nastily loud, yes. There's like a release still in here that is way too long. It's just like a static tone throughout the whole thing. I would probably take that out completely. Also, the kick and bass doesn't really come through as much as you want. I'm also not a fan of the triplet bassline with normal rolling bassline hats on top. You should probably have your hats also be triplets then. I like that. That was well designed. That little part there. Overall, the sound design is really good, actually. This is this is a little bit more like deep experimental psytrance, but I mean, it fits the name of the track, I guess, with all of that curse stuff that you were doing in the title. I think it's a little bit too bright now, mix-wise, especially if those glitches come in there. I feel like here the bass could be a little bit less staccato. Feels like you took the bass from the thing where you're doing 6 notes and you try to use that in the part where you're just using the triplet pattern. Doesn't really work for me. I like it a little bit more connected. Here there's some really loud atmospheres. Is that a 1/32 bass? Technically not. I believe it's 1/16 triplet. So that is 6 notes per beat. 32 notes would be 8 notes per beat. I like the bassline as a rolling bassline. That works well. In terms of lengths and in terms of how it's sounding. Overall, I think the track is a little bit overly bright here. It could definitely slope off a little bit better, a little bit more. You can also see the MP3 compression, so I wonder how bad it's going to be if you don't have that in there. And now you have a rolling bassline and triplet hats. You did it the wrong way around. Cool stuff. I like it. I like it a lot. It's nice and experimental. The mix can definitely use a little bit of extra work. The overly brightness is a little bit of an issue. The other thing is I felt like there's a lot of supportive elements that kind of overtake the main elements, like atmospheres and risers and that kind of stuff kind of coming up and overpowering the actual musical idea. So try to fix that as well. And overall, some arrangement things were a little bit questionable, like the hats not matching the groove that you've going on down below. But yeah, I did see somebody posted in here. I don't know if you're in the YouTube chat here. Tom Zamproni. If you are here in the YouTube chat, keep in mind that the queue is closed for today and that this will therefore be played next Sunday. Should I write that here? Yeah, okay. Just letting him know that this won't be played today because we closed the queue early. What is your SoundCloud? You can find the SoundCloud just on here. If you go to the track that I just played, which is this last me one here, the one with the cursed text, you can just click through on the SoundCloud and find it there. That's why I like doing these feedback streams, because most people, they can gain a little bit from that if their music is actually good, in that the people that like what they're doing tend to follow them on the SoundCloud, because it is almost all SoundCloud links, right? That is really nice way to just get a little bit of a following if you're posting your tracks and sharing the stuff that you do. So the last track of today is gonna be Rebellion at -6 dB, so you might want to turn down whatever device that you're using, although some of the other music we've listened to as well today have been loud, so that should still be okay. So this is Gate Nolan with Rebellion. This is a -6 dB peak headroom. Okay, so then I have to turn it up by 6 dB. Maybe even a bit more. We'll see when the main drop actually starts to play. Still not the part that is actually supposed to be the loud drop, I assume, because there's no sub here. At least I hope not. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a very loud snare. I don't like the snare from the very start. I would leave the kick and bass playing on its own and have the snare come in the next section. And even then, it can be a little bit lower. Check the difference between this transient and this transient. That is what bleeding the transient does. If you go to master this, this will have a much harder time going through the mastering limiter without distorting than something that is nicely balanced like this. And of course, that is why we resample our bass lines. This is more kind of psy-tech kind of vibe, I guess. Some really cool sound design in here. I like it a lot what you're doing. I like that little reverse delay thing. Or the synth kind of reversing into itself over and over again as a delay. I mean, it's just sounding great up until this point. There were a few small mixing things, I think. I said that the main thing is, of course, cleaning up the kick and bass, but if this is still a work in progress, seeing as this isn't mastered, I hope that you're we're going to do that anyway at the end of the production phase. But if you aren't, then do that. In this case, it is clean. This is actually nice. So here there's a slight bit of bleeding, but this isn't enough to really cause an issue. Your first drop did have an issue, so if you're resampling stuff, you might as well do the whole thing. The main thing for me still is the snare, and one being everywhere and two being so prominently loud. Like you can actually see the volume difference between the kick here and here. Like it's kind of insane what just having the snare up on top of that does. Hi Projector, love your funny scent videos. Thank you. Thank you very much. I guess that is the way that most people get to know of me, is through the shorts. And it's nice to see that some of them actually stay around for some of the other content as well. My shorts are really catchy. Yeah, it is the funniest thing I guess I do, right, in terms of content, and that means that it tends to be the easiest to consume. Great stuff. Even here in the outro, I would probably remove the clap slash snare. So in terms of the mix, what exactly do I need to do to fix everything, if you don't mind me asking? I cannot really talk about like individual numbers of, oh, this element goes up by half a dB, this element goes down by half a dB. I think I pointed out the snare, which is the biggest issue in the mix. But I believe there were some small like stereo wave issues that I heard, where some synths are either a little bit too wide or a little bit too mono. The kick and bass issue in terms of resampling, that is, I usually classify that as a production issue, because that is where you tend to fix it. But it of course has massive implications on the mix, because it ruins the transient of your kick drum, which is of course going to influence the way that you're going to make decisions about how the kick and bass should be mixed. Because what you probably will notice is that when the kick is playing on its own, it is punchier than when the kick is playing with the bass, and that is because that bass line is bleeding into the kick drum, right? So that would change the way that you would look at the mix, but that's really a production issue. But those are the kind of things that you should be thinking about. Overall, it's not like a bad mix or anything like that. It's not that there's like blatant issues with it, but there's always like fine tuning that you can do. Like this element needs a dB more, this element needs half a dB more saturation, whatever. Those things, there is always an improvement that you can do. But there's there were a few improvements here that I would like really consider doing, right? Those small details, to a certain extent, they don't even matter. But the kick and bass cleaning and the snare being less prominent, those things are things that would actually make this a better track, in my opinion. Okay. So that's everything for today. I am really tired. I did still want to do a little stream here, but I'm going to log off now, and I'm going to be doing some editing. Funnily enough, I still have to work. Yeah, but I just have to do shorts for tomorrow and finalize the edit for the last sound design September, which is also going to be tomorrow. So yeah, that's actually, yeah, tomorrow the Sound Design September series is ending, because it's the 30th. That will mean that also I will be releasing the pack that I'm making from all of the presets, and then I'll finally know exactly how many presets there are. I'm hoping that it's like roughly around 100 presets that I made in total. And of course that pack will be available as a single download on the Patreon, as opposed to having to go through all of the posts that I made in regards to all of the different synths and whatnot. Because I posted them every few days. In fact, I should be posting them now because we're a few days behind. So I'll post the synths later. And then I do some editing. And that will be my night. And then I'll try to go to bed early tonight. Let's see how that goes. Thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope that you enjoyed the content and that all of the feedback that I gave was helpful. And I hope to see you guys all next time. I hope that I can also, starting from this week, start streaming again outside of just the feedback streams, that I have enough free time to be able to do that. Because in Sound Design September, that really wasn't the case that I was able to do that. With just the amount of work that series was. It was very fun. I liked it a lot and I'm going to be doing it next year again, but it was absolutely not worth the trouble. I did do it for the YouTube views, in the sense that I was hoping that I was going to be able to boost my channel with that. It did not really happen. What instead happened was my channel didn't die and just stayed the way it was. Without it, it would have died. Without the series, if I were just continuously posting normal content, I think it would have died a little bit, because that has been a trend over the ever since May. My channel has very slowly been going down ever so slightly, which is very, very annoying, since I worked so hard on that. But without that series, it would have probably plummeted, because the shorts were terrible this month. But yeah, I hope that I can then focus a little bit more on the streaming side and that kind of stuff. And maybe also spend a little bit more time per video again. Anyway.